The royal crisis that could end 1,000 years of Danish monarchy. What happens next will shock you. Welcome to BNews. What if I told you that one of the world's oldest monarchies, a royal institution that has survived Viking invasions, world wars, and the collapse of empires across Europe, is now facing a crisis so profound that historians are calling it the most perilous moment in its 1,000-year history? On this 4th day of December 2024, as winter settles over the Nordic kingdom of Denmark, the Danish royal family finds itself navigating treacherous waters that could fundamentally reshape not just the monarchy itself, but the very identity of a nation. This isn't just another royal scandal involving tabloid headlines or family drama. This is a constitutional, cultural, and existential crossroads that has captured the attention of royal watchers, political analysts, and ordinary Danes alike. The uncertainty swirling around Copenhagen's Amalienborg Palace has sparked conversations in every corner of Danish society, from the bustling cafes of the capital to the quiet fishing villages along the Jutland coast. Something unprecedented is happening behind those palace walls, and the repercussions could echo far beyond Denmark's borders. The Danish monarchy has long been considered one of Europe's most stable and beloved royal institutions. Unlike the British royals with their constant media scrutiny or the scandal-plagued houses of Spain and Monaco, Denmark's Queen Margrethe II and her family maintained an image of quiet dignity, accessibility, and unwavering duty to their people. For decades, the Danish royal family represented a perfect balance between tradition and modernity, between ceremonial grandeur and down-to-earth relatability. But as December 2024 unfolds, that carefully maintained equilibrium appears to be crumbling. Multiple sources close to the palace have described an atmosphere of unprecedented tension, with urgent meetings behind closed doors, cancelled public appearances, and a level of internal discord that insiders say they've never witnessed before. The question on everyone's lips is simple yet profound. What exactly is happening within Denmark's royal family, and could we be witnessing the beginning of the end for one of Europe's most enduring monarchies? But before we dive deeper into this unfolding royal crisis, if you want to stay informed about the stories that matter and the breaking news that shapes our world, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss an update. And if you're already hooked on this story, and how could you not be, smash that like button to help us bring you more in-depth coverage of the events that captivate the globe. To truly understand the magnitude of the current crisis, we need to step back and examine the remarkable history of the Danish monarchy and the seismic shift that occurred earlier this year. The Danish royal house traces its lineage back over a millennium, making it one of the oldest continuous monarchies in the entire world. Through centuries of political upheaval, territorial losses, and societal transformation, the institution endured, adapted, and ultimately thrived by maintaining the delicate art of remaining relevant without becoming controversial. Queen Margrethe II, who ascended to the throne in 1972, became the living embodiment of this philosophy. Over her 50-year reign, she transformed the monarchy into a modern institution that Danes could be genuinely proud of. She was an artist, a scholar, a translator, and a queen who seemed to understand instinctively how to balance royal tradition with contemporary Danish values of equality, democracy, and simplicity. Her reign was marked by remarkable consistency, a steady hand, guiding Denmark through the end of the Cold War, the dawn of the digital age, and the challenges of the 21st century. She became not just a monarch but a cultural icon, someone who transcended politics and became woven into the very fabric of Danish national identity. Then came January 14, 2024, a date that will forever be etched in Danish history. In a stunning New Year's address that caught even her own family off guard, Queen Margrethe announced her abdication, the first voluntary abdication by a Danish monarch in nearly 900 years. The nation collectively gasped. For weeks leading up to that announcement, there had been no indication, no preparation, no gradual transition plan shared with the public or apparently even with all members of her own family. Within hours of the broadcast, Crown Prince Frederik became King Frederik X, and his Australian-born wife Mary became Queen Mary. What should have been a moment of seamless transition and national celebration instead marked the beginning of a period of unprecedented uncertainty and internal royal conflict. The abdication itself raised immediate questions that have never been fully answered. Why did Queen Margrethe, who had always maintained that monarchy was a lifetime commitment and had watched Queen Elizabeth II remain on the throne until her death, suddenly step down? The official explanation, ongoing health issues following back surgery the previous year, seemed insufficient to many observers. Whispers of deeper tensions within the family began almost immediately, and those whispers have now grown into a roar that cannot be ignored. The epicenter of this royal earthquake appears to be the relationship between King Frederik X and his younger brother, Prince Joachim. What was once a typical sibling rivalry has escalated into a full-blown dynastic crisis that threatens the very foundation of the monarchy. In September 2022, Queen Margrethe made the controversial decision to strip Prince Joachim's 4 children of their royal titles, a move that would take effect from January 2023. The official reasoning was to streamline the monarchy and allow these young people to live more normal lives without the burden of royal duties. However, the execution of this decision was handled with shocking insensitivity. Prince Joachim and his wife Princess Marie learned about the decision just days before it was publicly announced, giving them virtually no time to prepare their children or manage the inevitable media storm. The backlash was immediate and severe. Prince Joachim, speaking to Danish media, expressed his profound hurt and disappointment, stating that his children had been harmed and that the relationship with Queen Margrethe and Crown Prince Frederik, now King Frederik, had been severely damaged. This wasn't just a family squabble played out in private, this was a public rupture that exposed deep fractures within the royal family. As we move through December 2024, the situation has deteriorated rather than healed. Prince Joachim, who relocated to Washington, D.C. where he serves as Denmark's defense attaché, has maintained a conspicuous distance from the royal family both physically and emotionally. His rare appearances at official Danish functions have been marked by visible tension, strained body language, and a careful avoidance of extended interaction with his brother the king. Sources close to the family report that communication between the two brothers has been minimal at best, conducted primarily through intermediaries rather than direct conversation. This estrangement carries profound implications beyond mere family drama. In a constitutional monarchy, the royal family must present a united front to maintain public confidence and institutional legitimacy. When that unity fractures so publicly and so completely, it raises fundamental questions about the monarchy's viability. Danish constitutional experts have begun discussing scenarios that once seemed unthinkable. What happens if Prince Joachim publicly denounces the monarchy? What if he refuses to participate in succession planning or official ceremonies? Could Denmark witness an unprecedented situation where a prince effectively renounces his heritage while technically remaining within the royal family? But the crisis doesn't end with the brothers' estrangement. The ripple effects have created additional complications that are now coming to a head in December 2024. Princess Benedict, Queen Margrethe's younger sister, has reportedly attempted to mediate between her nephews but with little success. The tension has affected the younger generation as well, with Prince Joachim's children, who were stripped of their titles, now navigating the awkward space of being royal by blood but not by designation. Count Nikolai, Count Felix, Count Henrik, and Countess Athena, as they're now known, have had to rebuild their identities and public personas at ages when such upheaval can be particularly damaging. Meanwhile, King Frederik and Queen Mary's children, Crown Prince Christian, Princess Isabella, and twins Prince Vincent and Princess Josephine, are growing up witnessing this family discord, which inevitably affects their own understanding of what monarchy means and whether it's an institution worth preserving. The situation has created an atmosphere of uncertainty that permeates every aspect of royal life, from succession planning to public engagement strategies. Palace staff have described working in an environment where everyone is walking on eggshells, where long-term planning has become nearly impossible, and where the once clear vision for the monarchy's future has become clouded with doubt and anxiety. The Danish public's reaction to this unfolding crisis has been complex and revealing. Denmark, unlike Britain with its ingrained class system and centuries of royal pageantry, has always maintained a more pragmatic relationship with its monarchy. Danes appreciate their royal family, but that appreciation is conditional. It depends on the royals being worthy of respect, being relatively scandal-free, and not costing taxpayers excessive amounts of money. Recent polls conducted in November 2024 show a troubling trend for the monarchy. Support for the institution remains strong among older Danes who remember Queen Margrethe's long reign with fondness, but among younger Danes, particularly those under 35, there's a growing ambivalence about whether Denmark needs a monarchy at all. When asked specifically about the family conflict between King Frederik and Prince Joachim, a majority of respondents expressed disappointment in how the situation has been handled, with many feeling that the royal family has failed to live up to its own standards of dignity and unity. Social media has amplified these concerns, with Danish influencers and commentators openly questioning whether a family this dysfunctional can credibly serve as national figureheads. Some have gone further, suggesting that perhaps the crisis presents an opportunity to have a national conversation about transitioning to a republic, following the examples of countries like Greece and various former monarchies throughout Europe. The political dimension of this crisis cannot be overlooked. Denmark's political establishment has traditionally maintained a respectful distance from royal family matters, operating under an unspoken agreement that politicians don't comment on internal palace affairs and the royals stay out of politics. However, as December 2024 unfolds, that boundary is becoming increasingly difficult to maintain. Several members of the Danish parliament have begun asking pointed questions about the cost of maintaining a monarchy that appears unable to manage its own internal relationships. Budget discussions for 2025 have included unprecedented scrutiny of the royal household's expenses, with some politicians suggesting that funding should be contingent on the royal family demonstrating better governance and transparency. The Danish Prime Minister, caught between tradition and public sentiment, has attempted to navigate these treacherous waters with carefully worded statements that support the institution of monarchy while avoiding specific endorsement of the current family dynamics. Constitutional experts have been consulted about what mechanisms exist for addressing a dysfunctional royal family. Can Parliament intervene? Can the government demand mediation or counseling? These questions, which would have seemed absurd just a few years ago, are now being seriously debated in political and academic circles across Denmark. Looking at the broader European context makes Denmark's crisis even more striking. Across the continent, monarchies have faced various challenges in recent decades, but most have managed to weather their storms through a combination of strategic reform, careful public relations, and occasional good fortune. The Spanish monarchy survived King Juan Carlos's scandals by having his son Felipe VI present a stark contrast: young, dignified, and scandal-free. The British monarchy has endured everything from Princess Diana's death to Prince Andrew's disgrace to Harry and Meghan's departure by leaning on the institution's deep historical roots and the late Queen Elizabeth's personal popularity, now continued under King Charles III. The Swedish and Norwegian monarchies have maintained relevance by embracing modernity while preserving core traditions. But Denmark's situation feels different. This isn't a scandal that can be managed with better PR, nor is it a problem that time will naturally heal. This is a fundamental fracture in the family structure that serves as the monarchy's foundation, and it's happening at a time when public patience for royal dysfunction is at an all-time low across Europe. The Danish royal family finds itself in a uniquely vulnerable position, too prominent to ignore, too damaged to command automatic respect, and too uncertain about its own future to project the confidence that monarchies require to survive. As December 2024 progresses toward the new year, there are indications that something significant may be brewing behind palace walls. Unusual activity has been reported at Amalienborg Palace, with extended meetings involving not just the immediate royal family but also constitutional advisors, communications specialists, and trusted confidants from outside the usual palace circle. Some royal watchers speculate that King Frederik may be planning a major address to the nation, possibly in early 2025, to directly address the family crisis and outline a path forward. Others suggest that negotiations are underway to find some kind of reconciliation with Prince Joachim, perhaps involving a restoration of titles for his children or a new role that would bring him back into the royal fold. There are even rumors, though unconfirmed, that former Queen Margrethe herself may intervene publicly, using her still considerable moral authority to call for family unity and a return to the values that sustained the monarchy through her reign. Whatever is coming, there's a palpable sense among those who follow the Danish monarchy closely that the next few weeks will be decisive. The royal family cannot continue indefinitely in its current state of dysfunction. Something will have to give, either through reconciliation and reform, or through a more dramatic restructuring of what the Danish monarchy looks like and how it functions in the 21st century. The stakes extend far beyond one family or even one country. The Danish monarchy's crisis is a test case for whether traditional hereditary institutions can survive in an age of social media transparency, declining deference, and rising expectations for accountability. If Denmark, with its small population, strong democratic traditions, and generally positive feelings toward its royal family, cannot make monarchy work under these conditions, what does that say about the long-term viability of constitutional monarchies anywhere? The world is watching Denmark not just out of curiosity about royal gossip, but because what happens in Copenhagen over the coming months may provide answers to larger questions about tradition, modernity, family, duty, and the role of symbolic institutions in contemporary democracies. Will the Danish royal family find a way to heal its wounds and emerge stronger, demonstrating that even ancient institutions can adapt and overcome internal challenges? Or will this crisis prove to be the beginning of a long decline, the first cracks in a structure that will eventually crumble under the weight of its own contradictions? The answers to these questions will shape not only Denmark's future but potentially the future of monarchy across Europe. So what do you think? Can the Danish monarchy survive this unprecedented crisis, or are we witnessing the beginning of the end for one of Europe's oldest royal houses? More importantly, should monarchies have to answer to the same standards of functional family dynamics that we expect from any institution, or is there something special about royal families that puts them beyond such scrutiny? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We want to hear your perspective on this unfolding royal drama. And remember, history is happening right now, and you're witnessing it unfold in real time. Stay tuned to BNews for continued coverage of this story as it develops, because if there's one thing we know for certain, it's that the next chapter in this royal saga is coming soon, and it promises to be just as dramatic as everything we've witnessed so far.